And we're live. Welcome to the BounceBack Network. This is the first test episode of blockchain for entrepreneurs. But you may ask, what is blockchain technology or what the hell is it? Okay, I'm Sam Jacoba. I'm one of the co-founders of BounceBack Philippines, and I welcome you today. Again, this is a test broadcast, so please, forgive us a bit if we have any technical hiccups. But before anything else, I'd like to also greet, those who are watching this from other countries. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Also, if you're watching this by YouTube, also on Facebook, hi and hello. You'll be learning a lot from us today. So before we officially begin, let me introduce my co-host, from AltHash University, Mr. James Genove. Hey,
Hello,
bro,
hello.
how are you? Kumusta mo naman yung mga ating mga ka-bounce back dito? Okay.
Hello, magandang araw sa inyo.
Yan, buti na lang.
Good afternoon.
Akala ko Inglesero ka, bro. So, pwede pala tayong Pilipino dito, di ba?
Yes, yeah. My name is
Sakto.
James Genove from AltHash University and thank you for having me today, Sir Sam.
Tama. Okay, Sir James. Kwento mo naman, what is AltHash University?
Well, AltHash University is actually an online university. It's actually dealing and teaching more about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency in general. So there are a lot of there are a lot of things that we have in our pipeline right now.
Hmm.
And the very basic thing that we are teaching is actually the introduction to blockchain as a technology more than financial technology.
That's good. Later, our speaker, nawala si James. Okay, let me also introduce another good friend, Joseph Sylvester from ICORBP. Hey, Sly, how are you?
Hey guys, what's up? How's everything? How's everybody?
Hey, Sly, I heard that you had your job today, so congratulations.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Those who are watching, Filipino po si Sly. He can understand Filipino. Okay, but I grew up in the States, so that's why. Well, hindi ka mag-English, but you can talk to him in Filipino. Sly, what is I4BP?
Okay, so ICORBP stands for the International Council of Registered Blockchain Professionals. Basically, it's like we're forming this group where one of the core things that we want to provide to the world is basically blockchain professionals, developers, people who not just talk about the technology, but also apply it in their life or in their jobs or in their work. So that's basically the gist of ICORBP.
That's good. It was only formed recently, right, Sly?
Yeah, it was just recently formed just this year, actually.
That's good. How many members do you have now?
I think we have a little bit over like 20 plus, I would say 20 plus. So it's starting small, but we're slowly growing it as the days go by, basically.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
in our LinkedIn groups, by the way, we already have 1,000 and more are still applying. The 20 are the registered. Basically, these are the first registered professionals. But the community is around 1,000, more than 1,000 already to
That's
begin
good.
with.
Later
Yes.
we can come back and so we can talk more about ICORBP and AltHash University, James and Sly. Okay,
Sure.
because we can't wait to introduce our main speaker for today. So, gentlemen, do the honor of introducing our speaker. Who'll talk about what the hell is blockchain technology, man. So,
Yes. So let me do this honor for introducing our speaker today, this afternoon. So our speaker is actually a former banking executive with 17 years of solid experience in the field, both local and international. So he used to cover areas for banking and finance in Asia and even in areas of Africa. So he's very well versed in terms of financial, not just technology, but financial industry itself. So right now he's retired, but he's the co-founder of a university, of a training academy here in the country today in the Philippines, by the name of Museigen Trading Academy. He is actually one of the teachers also and faculty of AltHash University. And let me introduce to you our guest speaker for today, none other than Mr. Fermin Barranechea III. Welcome, sir.
Hey,
Thank
Fermin,
you.
welcome
Thank
to
you.
BounceBack. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for the
Oh,
invitation. Before
yep,
anything else, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our viewers who are watching us from literally all over the world.
yep.
And
Thank you.
welcome to this first test broadcast. Gaya nga ng sabi ni Sam kanina.
Alam mo, Brother James, kanina kinakabahan na ako. Ito sabi ko, Espanyol pala tong guest natin. Mauubusan ako ng Espanyol dito, saka English. Good to know that Fermin really, well, his dad is pure Spanish, but he grew up in the Philippines. And we're lucky, he did not retire fully, right? He did not retire, for example, to manage a big farm or to, just travel the world, but he retired to teach, no? Ako, teaching is really a noble profession. And Fermin, we cannot wait to see your presentation, but the three of us are going to just be off cam later, and then please again,
Sure.
please teach the BounceBack Network, what is blockchain technology. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. So
Yan.
let me start by. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start. I mean, I'll go through a couple of slides and then later the floor will be open for Q&A. So I won't be too technical. So let's start. Again, I also just have to make a legal disclaimer. The information here is based on what the Academy has gathered through research and third-party insights. And past results are not a guarantee of future results, and it's not financial advice. And as with anything, you're always encouraged to do your own research. So let me just give a brief overview of what a blockchain is. Essentially, a blockchain in its simplest form is a database. But what makes this different from normal databases? I guess the best example would be, let's say, if you were in a bank. They do have a database, but their database is stored on centralized servers. Now, the main difference here when you're talking about a blockchain is what you can see in item number 2, distributed. Number 3, decentralized. So these two things are critical because what that essentially means is that you do not have a single point of failure. Again, let's go with a traditional bank as an example. I'm sure madami sa atin naranasan na natin yung magda-down yung bank because they need to do maintenance on the system, 'di ba? And so what happens? While that maintenance is ongoing, nobody can access the services. When you're using the blockchain though, the fact that it is distributed and decentralized means they can continue to do transactions because there are other components which will come in to fill the gaps. So it's not because, let's say, if point A is down in a centralized system, everything stops functioning. In a blockchain, you have point A, point B, point C, point D. So one point going down does not prevent the system from continuing to function. Now, the other thing is because it is distributed and decentralized, it also means it is transparent. So everybody can see what is happening real time. So you can imagine the applications that are possible. Imagine you have a system which is decentralized, transparent, and you cannot make any changes. So you can imagine the wealth of applications which are possible with this. Now, blockchain itself, though, this was started in 1991. It's just that it didn't really take off until Bitcoin came about in 2009. So let me just give you a graphical explanation. See, that's why they call it a blockchain, because the data of the transactions is grouped into blocks. Once this has been confirmed, it will be added let's say once this has been confirmed, it's added to the other chain. That's why they call it a blockchain. As you can see graphically, it is a chain composed of blocks. But you remember I mentioned earlier about it being decentralized, distributed, and transparent. Each block contains data, and it also contains what is called a hash, which is essentially it's a unique alphanumeric string of the fields inside this block. So as you have more blocks, right, as more blocks are added to the chain, you'll notice this is the hash of this block, and it also contains the hash of the previous block. Now, one of the reasons why they say it is virtually immutable is the moment you make any change into the transaction here, this hash will change. And therefore, if there was any block already here, magkakaroon na kaagad ng disconnect because the data does not match. So that's one of the reasons why they say it is virtually immutable. Now, as I mentioned, it took off in terms of mainstream awareness because of Bitcoin. So here is a graphical example of how that would work. If you had a Bitcoin transaction, and that is now being transmitted to a network of peer-to-peer computers scattered globally. Di ba nga? As we said earlier, it's distributed and decentralized. So they're basically competing to solve a mathematical equation. So that's the technical part. Let's not get into that. But once that's been solved, they are clustered into blocks. Then the block is added into the chain. The transaction is complete. So, as I mentioned earlier, think of the possibilities. Any industry which is data-driven or documentation-oriented will be a very good candidate for using the blockchain, because the blockchain, by virtue of its being decentralized, distributed, open source, and transparent, will be able to result in efficiencies off the bat. Efficiencies in terms of processing speed, efficiencies in terms of costs, because there will be areas where you can do away with the intermediaries. That's why industries like finance, insurance, media, and entertainment, you're already seeing a number of disruptions in how they operate due to the blockchain. Let me give you here an example. This is from 2020. And December 2020, the total market capitalization of the whole cryptocurrency market was roughly about 668 billion, which would have been basically just the capital of these two banks. As of today, given the recent pullback, you're looking at about 1.4 trillion. So at 1.4 trillion, that's now equivalent to the capitalization of the top 5 banks. So you've seen that it has grown significantly in just 6 months. However, what does that point out to you? That's still a drop in the bucket, because here we're only talking about the top 10 banks. Clearly, there are thousands of banks globally. So you can see that it is still in its infancy, even though it's been around since, let's say, 2009 because of Bitcoin. The industry itself and the use of blockchain is just starting. You have companies just beginning to realize the efficiencies and the savings that they can generate once they employ blockchain technology. Let me give you just one example, finance, because it's a topic close to my heart. So look at this. In October of 2017, now total value locked, just to explain, what total value lock means is the value of assets in all the various decentralized finance platforms. So you will look back in 2017. I mean, even graphically, you can see that it was pretty dormant. And that's not a typo. That's the reality. In 2017, August, $4. Now, okay, so literally you're looking at about a little less than 4 years. It's now $51 billion. But again, as I pointed out, it's still in its infancy. There's still a lot of room to grow. So finance is just one of them. But the Blockchain Council has already listed a number of use cases. And this list, by all means, is not complete. There are many, many more. Supply chain, digital identity. For example, using the blockchain right now, when you give your data, for example, to Facebook, you cannot control what Facebook does with that data. But using the blockchain option, you would essentially be in control of your data. You can decide what you want to share, when you want to share. That is possible using the blockchain. Voting. Can you imagine a situation where you don't need to rely on manual counting? And once the vote has been cast, you can't change it because it's on the blockchain. It is transparent, and any attempt to make any changes will be seen right away on the blockchain. So you can imagine the efficiencies that would generate, and also the ability to reduce controversies resulting from voting results, di ba? Healthcare, when people need to access their records, procedures done, especially if, let's say, you used to be in hospital A and you're now in hospital B, and you need, your doctor there needs, oh, do you have your case history? So unless you actually physically brought it with you, chances are you'd have to request from hospital A. And many times that's not something that will happen real time, right? It can take days. If this was all on the blockchain, this could happen real time. They would literally be able to see records of what was done to you, even in other hospitals before. Again, in combination, let's say, with the privacy given from digital identities, you will be able to determine what sort of data they can see. And this is not just a dream. It's actually already ongoing. There are cases already being done or studies being done to see how these things can be implemented. Same thing with food safety. When you want to trace, for example, the vegetables that are on your table right now, you want to find out, was this produced, for example, in a country where they were using child labor? With the blockchain, it will be possible to find out all of this information real time. So I've just given you some examples of use cases, but certainly the list is growing, and it grows by the day. As more and more people see what the possibilities are with blockchain. So as we like to say, I mean, I know James has heard me say this, and so has Sly. Here we're talking about technology. So you go and think about it, let's say like the internet, when the internet was starting. Many people then said the internet was just a fad and that it wouldn't take off. It wouldn't get traction. Years later, where are we today? I mean, the world today would be a much more different place if we didn't have the internet. And you're going to see the same thing happening with technologies like the blockchain. As we do like to tell people, technological change is going to happen with or without you. So that leaves you with two choices. Do you want to risk being left behind? Or do you want to be part of the change that comes with technology. So I suppose the fact that all of you are listening today means that you have made a conscious decision that you want to be part of that change. You want to learn to see how it can be used to improve certain things in your respective companies or industries, and that you don't want to be left behind. So well done to those of you that have made that decision. So if you want to learn more about, let's say, cryptocurrencies, you can visit our website, museigen.io. That is also our Facebook page. And you can find out more about what we do. Because at Museigen Trading Academy, what we do is we teach people about the cryptocurrency space. So that's one subsegment of blockchain, because clearly blockchain is a much broader topic. Cryptocurrency is just one. So with that, let me stop my screen share.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Fermin. Just bring back our two colleagues, okay?
Yes.
Yep, Fermin, so your email is streaming underneath, so they can send you mail to inquire about your courses, no? So
Sure.
that's how it's pronounced pala, Museigen. What does it mean?
Yes.
So that's the first
Limitless.
question. Limitless.
It's Japanese for limitless.
Kaya pala yung this Japanese flag ba yung nasa likod mo? Is that the Japanese sun? Parang red.
Coincident.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So, Sly, you're on mute, bro. You're on mute. Sly. There you go.
Limitless, okay. Because I think Sly and James know this.
So, yeah, they're both Hokages. That's why they know it.
When I'm using the space to generate, that's why we call it limitless.
That's it. Okay. So again, to our BounceBack listeners, the purpose of this really is to introduce you to blockchain, and then how you can apply this, in your respective businesses. Whether you're, a micro, small or medium enterprise, blockchain has a use for you. Fermin just describes several use cases, but there are a lot already, right? So again, let's ask the youngest among us. So that's Sly, right, James? Sly, do you have any questions for Fermin that can help our entrepreneur listeners of BounceBack, the BounceBack Network, to further, kindle their interest and pursue probably a parallel career using blockchain? So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of questions, in regards to a lot of people who are new to blockchain, they tend to stray away from the understanding the technology side of things, but they go into more of the financials, more like DeFi. I think one of the questions I would like to questions that are always brought up is like, how do people enter the whole financial or the DeFi space of the crypto blockchain part or aspect of it? That'd be one of the main questions out there right now.
Yeah, okay. We'll wait for Fermin to but we'll go ahead, Sly. I mean, just reinforce what Fermin has presented, please.
Right. So a lot of if you paid attention to his presentation, and he made 5 key points in where blockchain and its use cases can really be of use, literally. And one of the things that I'm seeing usually on the field is more of the healthcare part, supply chain management, things like that. These are really heavy sectors that I believe that where implementation of blockchain through the use of smart contracts really come into play here. So yeah. Okay, Fermin's back.
Hey, welcome back, Fermin. Yeah,
okay.
We should have blockchain for StreamYard so you don't get lost, man. So anyway, just yeah, go ahead, Sly. So 5 points from Fermin, right? The first one that I got, of course, is it's distributed, correct? So
right, it's distributed ledger technology. The real idea here in terms of blockchain is the idea of really transparency, because transparency provides trust not only to internally, usually like say, for example, companies, but externally also in terms of, where are the moving pieces going? That's one of the key reasons about blockchain that makes it highly valuable, is because people want to see the moving pieces. Now, of course, you're not going to see it in real time, like moving gears, but it's the idea that if you need to check on something, it's there, it's public, people can see it. So going back to one of my questions is like, usually on the field, I get asked a lot of questions such as, how do I enter a blockchain in terms of, let's say, DeFi or maybe the financial aspect of it? So that would be one of the main questions being asked, not just to me, but I would like to ask that as well.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that, because of the technology that blockchain does, I think, and you mentioned it earlier, it allows for the use of smart contracts. So the analogy I like to make is that a smart contract is like the if then function on Excel, right? When you're in Excel, and then the moment certain conditions are met, right? That's why these are the if conditions, then the following happens. So envision a similar situation, but on the blockchain. So which means that the smart contract will have, let's say, for example, if let's say James wants to sell you something sly. So the smart contract would say, if James does a deposit into my account, B, the account is confirmed to have received the funds, then C, the title is released to James. So imagine all of this happening without any intermediary, and it's all done through the smart contract. So that's why they call it decentralized. You don't need a third party in the middle to essentially act as a referee. It's all already been put into the code. As long as the conditions are met, you don't need a third party to say, let me check if the conditions have been met. The smart contract will do it for you. The moment it validates that the conditions have been met, it will execute what it was asked to do. So you can imagine two things. That will certainly be quicker because you don't need human intervention. And two, precisely because you don't need human intervention, it will also be cheaper. And that
Yeah.
obviously that will be one of the reasons why you will have mainstream banks taking two positions, either those that will embrace the
Okay, yeah, we lost Fermin again. Okay,
Yes. So
so
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Again, he mentioned another new word. Like so again, this is new for most of our smart contracts. Again, okay,
right.
okay. So
yeah. Go ahead, Fermin.
there
So
we go.
again,
There we go.
Into
again,
so when
yeah,
it
yeah.
checks
We lost you
the
when you were
Wi-Fi.
describing between a bank that will choose to go for
yeah.
blockchain and a bank that won't go for it. So yeah.
Right. So what basically happens is you will have certain banks looking to embrace the technology and see how they can work with it.
Hmm.
And you will have banks that will remain attached to the traditional way of doing things. And again, perfectly understandable, right? You can imagine if you wanted, let's use something as simple as cryptocurrency. If you wanted to send money, let's say Sam, to somebody in Hong Kong, your traditional approach would be you go to the bank branch in the Philippines, tell them, I need to send money to Hong Kong. So they'll do a remittance via Swift. They will charge you, and it'll take maybe 2 to 3 days. Now, if you go via cryptocurrency using the blockchain, literally as long as your counterpart in Hong Kong had a smartphone and had access to an internet connection, they'd literally get it in as short as 30 minutes, depending on the speed that they wanted to, the priority they wanted to use on the blockchain. So you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine that if you were a bank, there's a certain core business that you have. You might not be prepared to give that up yet. Some are,
Mm-hmm.
some aren't.
Mm-hmm. That's good. You know, it's good really that for me you're looking at this from the lens of a former banker, right? Well, you're still a banker in a way, but you're now a quote unquote digital banker. So that totally changed it. Before you were handling what they call that again, fiat, right? Meaning paper
Fiat,
money.
yes.
Yeah,
Actually,
and now you're yeah. So
yeah,
go
I
ahead,
do
James.
have
Go ahead.
a follow-up question to that, Fermin, if you don't mind. Since you made mention of those who will go uh, both directions. One will go with it, the other go may go against it. But basically, we understand that blockchain, just like the internet, during its evolution or during its inception, has a lot of things that they are trying to change or revolutionize. Now, just to enlighten also our viewers who are new to this space,
Sorry, James, you
blockchain
came in choppy.
technology. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Yeah, go ahead, James. We're on.
Yeah, maybe it's Fermin's internet, no? Pero yun nga, the question is, there are already ways of recording this data. Now, yes, it's immutable. Yes, it's in a smart contract and so on. But what makes blockchain special in an enterprise level or in a business level that industries like supply chain, medical and healthcare should shift to it over other available technologies in the space?
Well, certainly, I'm sure blockchain is one of the possible solutions. There might be others, but the thing is, given the efficiencies that blockchain can introduce, I certainly would advocate that they should at least consider blockchain technology over other possible solutions. Because I'm sure in the same manner, you have companies that are saying, oh, blockchain doesn't deliver on what they claim. Well, it could be a function of how did they choose to implement it? Did they really give it a chance? Because remember, blockchain to me is like, let's say in the corporate world, you have people who want to do, let's say, Six Sigma, right? Now, things like Six Sigma, you need a champion within the company to push it forward. Because if there's nobody championing it within the company, it's very easy to say it doesn't work and it doesn't give the benefits that it claims. So, in the same manner for blockchain, it's very easy to give lip service and say, we tried it, it doesn't work. What's important is when you want to try and apply that in the corporate setting, you have to make sure that there are internal champions who really want to give it an honest to goodness try. And
Correct. Yeah.
I would probably say, I cannot believe that it will not introduce even some small efficiencies over the current setup. Because again, imagine you're doing away with intermediaries where you can, and you are making processing times quicker.
Mhm.
So it's
Should
just
be a no-brainer.
fundamentally,
Yeah, it should be a
fundamentally
no-brainer, right?
possible to say that you don't have any savings.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I heard you said it a while ago. It's cheaper than most
Yeah. Oh,
technologies available out
yeah.
there.
Right.
Correct. But
I
but
mean,
but, but going.
if ever you may have, let's say somebody might say the upfront technological cost might be high, maybe, but then you have to
Mm.
see if this is something that's going to work for you for the next 5 to 10 years, then it can offset all of your ongoing costs at the moment.
Mhm. So,
Indeed.
gentlemen, again, the question is that I mean, hearing it from you, not just today, of course, in the past. Like, number one, it's very efficient, it's transparent, and it will really improve your business. Why is it not gaining ground? I mean, the technology adoption curve, right? It seems that blockchain is still in the early adapter, innovator stage. When will it cross the chasm and tip? When will it get that tipping point? Again, so several questions there. Why is it so hard for companies to do it now? Sly raised his hand, so Sly, go ahead, bro. Take it,
Okay.
take it.
All
Yeah.
right. So I want to answer this question because I personally know this part of the field really well. The reason why is because when you talk to this is my experiences, by the way. When you talk to a lot of the industries in the companies in the field talking about blockchain and whether they should implement it or not, the problem is it's one of those things where it's such a new technology that the current let's say if you are already a developer, like programming the most latest languages. The problem is it's a totally different language, so to speak. So it's sort of like a niche market that you need specialized or qualified people to understand the technology first and then write the applications, which also is equivalent to being very pricey to pay for devs to implement it within let's say a corporate structure. But at the same time, uh, as blockchain grows and grows every single year, just like like school, you have a whole bunch of graduates with all this knowledge that they want to apply it into the real world. It's sort of kind of like what blockchain is. People are learning the development phase, how to put it in, things like that, and then give it some time. You'll get graduates that will test their skills and apply blockchain to companies. So why is it slow? It's because, again, niche market. People are learning this as they go. And, the further down The longer that you study blockchain, incorporate it, do the development, the more you gain experience. That way you get that what do you call this? That way you have at least the field knowledge in terms of, which industry will work properly for you as a blockchain professional or developer. So that's why it's slow, but it is gaining traction little by little. One last thing I'd like to say about why companies don't necessarily implement blockchain is because they feel the first thought in their head is, should we completely go to blockchain, or should we just, or should we not? The answer isn't yes or no. It's more like, look at your processes. One of the things that was mentioned earlier in this chat is the idea of Six Sigma. So I'm not a black belt or a yellow belt in Six Sigma, don't know. But what I'm saying is, if you look at what Six Sigma teaches, is that, when you look at a process from let's say from the start to the beginning, the end product, you want to look for certain things within the production phase, which is taking way too much time, or what things you will encounter. Blockchain can't solve all those processes. I'll tell you that for sure. But certain processes within the production process, especially when you're trying to get timestamps, data gathering, and you need something solid to work with, and you want to grab that data at any time. That type of thinking, that type of aspect, that's where blockchain truly shines. But so companies, again, they don't think heavily into these type of things. It's more of a cost issue. But what we're trying to do in terms of this whole blockchain revolution really is just more like, hey, look, not everything can be replaced by blockchain, but certain processes can.
So you can have a hybrid model, right, Sly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to go all in, for example.
Yes.
Wipe out your code.
And Sam, I just
this
would like,
system, right?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
James. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, I just would like to support Sly's statement a while ago. But before that, interestingly, you can check the website of documentingbitcoin.com and visit bitcoin.com. These are independent websites, by the way. So there is this data that just recently came in 2 or 3 days ago, that the users of blockchain, Bitcoin in particular, well, Bitcoin is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. The users of Bitcoin worldwide for have already reached around roughly estimating the same amount of users that there were in 1997. And looking at the traction that the Bitcoin has right now compared with how it was during the ebb of the internet technology, we're looking that in the same 5-year time period, it will double. It will double.
Based on current
Yes, based on the
trajectory.
current based on the
Yeah.
trajectory of the users. So
Yeah.
maybe
But
it could
that's
be,
crypto, yeah, James. That's
yes,
that's
yes.
crypto currency application of blockchain is
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But that is also the same kasi yung nung 1997, that's just also email.
Hmm.
If you remember. So 1997, most of the usage back then, you will hear of a lot of email providers. Wala pa nun, there's no Facebook back then. There's no Google back then. O, ang sikat nun,
Friend,
the most popular,
Friendster.
yes. Wala pa din masyado nung during the time.
Saka
The most
MySpace. Yeah.
the most popular during the time is Yahoo. There are a lot of application that was developed by Yahoo, to
Yeah.
which it's being di naman, not being copied, but like being emanated to the smart contracts that we are talking about a while ago. Because
Correct.
the smart contracts is like the Yahoo of internet back then, right now. So
Correct.
you can say, you can use that analogy to this extent.
I believe that it's the use cases that will really drive adoption. You need to show wins in your business for blockchain, so that you can justify the expenses to top management, right? So that's why, again, you start small, right, and then scale fast. We have an interesting question here, and this is very close to my heart too. I'm also a data privacy and cybersecurity professional. So from Jomer, let me post her question. Okay. His question, sorry, Jomer. Bro, this is a question. If you invest in blockchain technology now, will this put you in a better position than your competitors when it comes to data privacy and reducing overhead? Jomer, thank you, bro, for your question. And then tanong niya, will it be too late next year? Ito, si Fermin mentioned digital identity. So this is writes back on on data privacy and
Right.
cybersecurity. So Jomer, our listeners asking, should we invest now,
Sure.
like
Let
on
me
blockchain? Right?
let me
Yep.
take a stab, and then. But before
Yeah.
that, to add to your earlier question, Sam, one reason why you don't have companies rushing to do blockchain technology, because I think Sly mentioned it, it's new, and what generally people are resistant to change. They'll say we've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it this way for the last 10,000 years, and it
Mm-hmm.
works well. We
Mm-hmm.
don't see the reason why we need to switch to something new and not yet tested, which
Mm-hmm.
that's why it goes back to what Sly also alluded to earlier. It's not an all or nothing approach. You don't need to like radically change everything and we go to the blockchain. Let me go into banking as an example. They have already tried, some of the foreign banks have tried doing loan syndications purely on the blockchain. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't change everything like deposit taking. They tried to look, okay, what's one process which is heavily data driven
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to raise money? The document, especially if you're doing it internationally. So when you're doing it internationally, you're dealing with counterparties abroad. So there's a lot of documentation being exchanged. So
Mm-hmm.
they tried the blockchain, and they saw that it did produce efficiencies, particularly in terms of the time it would take to to get this documentation to exchange hands.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good.
Now,
Actually, for me, one of the banks that supports BounceBack Philippines, Union Bank, they're one
mm,
of the first to go into blockchain. So again, shout out to our friends at Union Bank. Again, thank you for showing us the way. So yeah, yeah. So there are really pockets of wins already for blockchain, right? In corporate.
right, and
So
then to I
we're
guess
just
to
adhering
answer
them. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
to answer
Mm,
Jomar's question,
mm,
it's I wouldn't say it's too late. I mean, the fact that you have very few companies beating the door down to employ blockchain technology, to me, is a simple answer to that question. It's not too late. The thing is,
mm,
I think you need to also consider though is that it's not all or nothing.
mhm,
You look
mhm,
for what aspect of the processes within that corporation may be open to efficiencies produced by blockchain. Because
mhm,
not everything, I think Sly said it best. Not everything can be solved by the blockchain. Like it's not a magic bullet that once I have blockchain, all my problems go away. No. It's a bullet that can help you with certain issues, but it won't help you with all issues.
mhm,
Now, going back to the question of data privacy, yes, in fact, that is one of the things that blockchain is looking to do for you to have control of your digital identity and you share what you want to share. Because right now, I'll go back to my example, once Facebook has your data, you can't really control what Facebook does with it.
because you agreed with Facebook's terms.
But,
That's why you accepted the free
right,
platform. So in exchange for your
right.
information, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and
So the
being centralized in
blockchain for,
nature. Yeah.
Yeah,
now I was going
yeah.
to say
Go ahead, Sai.
blockchains. Yeah. Go ahead, Sly.
Yeah, go for it. Okay,
Okay,
go ahead,
sure.
Sai.
Yeah, let me just tack on something. In regards to the question itself, and Furman didn't mention it. Digital identification. So when we look at digital identification and blockchain, we think to ourselves, how's that secure? I mean, you just said everything is going to be public. So where's the security in that? The idea is it's secure because when you look at blockchain, you're going to be dealing with two other aspects, which is called your public and private keys. Now, yeah, there are ways to basically put certain specific types of data onto the blockchain. Um, that is correct. But in terms of who accesses it, this is where your public and private keys come in.
Mm,
So just to shorten, just teach everybody here is that public keys, that's basically a public broadcast. So when you push actions onto the to a blockchain, you're just telling the blockchain, hey, I'm trying to get something done here. Just make sure that you're listening in. Oh, now this is where your private keys come in. Yes, I want to confirm that transaction. I want to go into my account. Yes, these are my private keys. This is my signature. Confirm. So that way only you, the account holder, gets into the account. So in terms of data privacy, this is where it kind of flows in. Now, does it always have to be about private keys? A majority of it, yes. But the other part to it is when you become a blockchain developer, is that you get to not just work with private keys and public keys. Is that now you're dealing with transaction signing or digital transaction signing. So that way, the only people who can, or the only person who can access any account that belongs to you on the blockchain is going to be you because of your private keys. Now, development wise, yeah, you can incorporate, let's say, MongoDB or NoSQL or MySQL into let's say a front end. But in the end, everything comes down to your public and private keys. So yeah, and yes, invest early.
Yeah, definitely. And again, NADPOP is a partner of BounceBack Network, and of course also AltHash. We're doing some data privacy projects. So Jomer, thank you for your question, but we cannot reveal it to you what we're doing currently.
Yes.
But it's coming. It's coming. Really.
Sam,
So
I
again,
also would like to add
yeah,
something to what Sly mentioned, just
mhm,
for our audience to understand. Yes, there is what you call a public display of your data or your information in the blockchain. You can view it. Everything is transparent. But remember, your identity in the blockchain, especially in the setting of looking at addresses, you're looking actually at not names but alphanumeric characters, which are actually blockchain addresses. So yes, there is some sort of what do you call uh, transparency, but there goes also your anonymity, meaning you can remain anonymous if you want. But there are also technologies nowadays for blockchain that if you wanted to display your data, there is already these projects available in the technology wherein you can rewrite your address into human readable addresses. So yeah, it actually depends on the implementation. So
mhm. So
one way or another.
yeah, the only
Yeah.
limitation is the imagination to solve problems, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's the only
Correct.
limitation. Yeah.
Agree.
Another interesting use case that Fermin mentioned is elections, right? So, or voting. Fermin, we have an elections coming in next year. Then Sly is raising his hands. Okay. If, yeah, that's a big if.
One of the probable reasons lie no that
Yeah.
we most of the Filipinos cannot adapt the technology.
But again,
Yeah, it's too
yeah,
transparent.
it need not be the whole country, right? It can be, for example, you pilot it in one barangay, right, or one city, right? So again, Sly raises hands first. Any comment? Use of blockchains for election and other, related,
Okay,
activities.
sure. So when it comes to voting, if you want to go as big as elections, there's actually let's just call it like there's certain processes that you have to go through. Now, and when it comes to elections, when you just think small, like within, let's say, less than 20 people, I mean, all it comes down to is very simple. One of the things is, when you can voting can be done either through smart contracts by clicking on a candidate, but then the more simplified approach, the most basic of all approaches, and this is one of the things that is creating a very simple token, either on whatever blockchain. It can be AltHash blockchain, it can be on Ethereum as an ERC20, Binance, but the point is, start small, then you'll see how this will scale. If you got 20 people, right, and they're trying to figure out who's the leader of this one group, create a ERC20 token, or create a token, just create 20 of them. And now you have wallets. From the 20 tokens that are in limited supply, which is 20 tokens, hey, look, we have, let's say, 3 candidates. Wallet address 1, wallet address 2, wallet address 3. Send your tokens to one of these addresses that is related to the candidate. Now, taking that concept of idea of just creating a token, now let's scale it up big time. Elections, one of the things about blockchain is that, yeah, you can use smart contracts, okay, but at the same time you can even go as simple as just creating a token for elections. So there's many possibilities, and there's simplified approaches. So it depends on what makes sense to the people. Do they want to take the token approach, or do they want to take the the smart contract approach, which is kind of pricey? But yeah, that's just my take on things.
Yeah, actually, there's application for business like for example, if I assign tokens to my top customers, right?
Hmm.
And I ask them, hey, what are the top three things that you'd like us to do? Can you please vote, right? So that's a simple, again, corporate
Yeah.
applications to business, right? Yep,
I
very
think
good.
on specific
Yeah,
on
good.
the voting question, Sam, is it goes back also to what I said earlier. You'll need a champion,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. Probably start maybe at the LGU level, at the city level, but there has to be somebody on the government side saying, "I'd like to try this," because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
clearly, if it's the private sector only pushing
Mm-hmm.
it, there
Mm-hmm.
will be resistance from the other side. So this is one of those examples where you would really need a public-private partnership. And agree, you probably wouldn't do this nationwide at the start.
Yeah.
You can start
Yeah.
at the LGU level, let's say at the city level, for perhaps, or maybe even a barangay level, be able to
Yep.
do a
Yep.
proof of concept, show that it worked. We were able to get
Mm-hmm.
the results quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the outcome. Then you can expand from there. But it's got to start with somebody willing to
Well,
say,
number
I want to try it.
number per min. Clean. Yeah. The best thing there is that you can clean up the voters database. Take out all of those who have passed already, right? So, and then those that have multiple entries. So anyway, yeah. But guys, let's come back to that. Let's park it because that again we can actually come back there before election season, right?
Oh
Another
yeah.
another relevant use case that Fermin mentioned is logistics. Okay. So again, this has an impact on our entrepreneurs. Remember what happens, for example, when I'm sure you've heard of this story. It happened in one of the villages here in the south, right? There was one house who received over 40 food deliveries.
Mm.
Like boom, right? So, and then he was surprised. So when they analyzed it, it's like a prank, right? Played on that poor individual who received all of those, food deliveries. And what's sad about it is that the food deliverers, they're the ones who buy the food first, right? Out of their own pocket. And then they do COD. That's how it works, right? So again, how can blockchain address something like that? It's very painful for all parties, especially the one who received all of those, quote unquote food deliveries, even though he or she did not order it, right? So again, it's a
Yeah.
logistics, and then at the same time, it's also a food ordering system. So yeah,
Yeah.
again, anyone of you can take it on. So that's a
I'll
big,
take this one. Actually, Sly and Fermin had mentioned a while ago a lot more about private and public keys.
Mhm.
Now, if for example, these platforms of food delivery app is actually run through the blockchain technology, what they can do is to actually verify the order first by asking
Correct.
the individuals or those who are actually ordering if they have the that private key, because by the way it goes right now, anyone can order in your behalf. For example, anyone can order in your behalf and have it delivered at your doorsteps. Now, if there's that private and public key to validate if you actually ordered such an order, then one this is one way. Now, I'm not saying it's a no it's a foolproof system, but we can actually use that to avert it, because imagine there's no private key signing in the current app that uses the delivery system, or for example those delivery courier system available out there. Now in the blockchain this can be avoided, although yeah, there are people are creative, not well, a lot of people are creative and can do away with, well, maybe someday they can find a way and dupe it again with another set of things, like maybe they can like for example, they find a loophole that a certain user actually registered several private and public key combinations.
Mhm.
So if for example one of those private and public key combinations got lost, or went to the wrong hand, then probably it can work to the person's disadvantage. A lot of things, no,
Mhm.
that can happen. But that's one way of protecting and helping the example that you made,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
delivery thing,
Mhm.
to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Jim. We have a lot of food entrepreneurs here. So that's why they also face a challenge on a day-to-day basis, right? So, anything to add there, Fermin? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with
Go
this
Sly
one.
first.
Yeah. So public and private keys, you can actually kind of expand on that using multi-sig wallets. So, for example, you have three entities in terms of a food delivery. You have the buyer who wants the food. Then, of course, you have the driver, and then you have the restaurant of choose any name you want. So there's going to be like three signatures, and as long as all three signatures are there for the order, I mean that can assist with not being pranked. The other thing you can try to do, and which is like one of the hugest craze, really is like you can implement an NFT system. Surprisingly, and not NFTs. And we're talking about the same NFT type of thing, for the digital art things, but now applied towards a specific a case, such as, let's say, the restaurant or food industry. Because if you think about it, I mean, what is NFTs? Whenever you hit like an NFT marketplace, all it is just basically, you have items up for sale, kind of like e-commerce items up for sale. And then when you purchase that item with said currency, you get to own it. And of course you have the metadata or the attributes about what this item is all about. So those are my thoughts on how to maybe assist with the whole the prank thing with the grab food deliveries or whatever. But yeah, blockchain can solve a lot of those things. That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Sly. Again, Sly mentioned another new word, probably NFTs. Sly, can you please just explain what NFTs are briefly?
Okay. Okay, so basically NFTs are like non-fungible tokens. So think of it like this. If, let's say I have a let's say I have a Philippine peso, okay? Let's say using the denomination of 100 bill. That 100 bill is like, it's the same no matter what. Whoever uses this 100 bill, it's the same value, okay? Now, that's the fungible side, okay? Now, non-fungible basically means it's unique. So I can create anything like digital work, something 3D-ish, and pop it onto a NFT marketplace. It is unique. Why? Because I am the author of this work. It is unique. So the value that I say it has will be different from someone else who will think either, yes, I agree, it's of that value, or maybe it's higher or lower. So it is subjective in value. So that's what makes NFTs the way they are. They're unique. So yeah.
Yep, we'll discuss it in future episodes, right? So okay.
Yep.
Fermin, yep. Thank you, Sly.
Yes.
Your take on that one, the food delivery, yeah. So
I think since we were talking about smart contracts, for example, in the case of the food delivery, I go back to my analogy about an Excel formula. You put a series of if events. So, and that's how the smart contract would be able to address the issue of bogus deliveries. You would stipulate a series of if events, let's say 3 or 4. So if only 2 of them tick off, the delivery shouldn't happen because there are still 2 other elements which need to be ticked off before it would be executed. So I do agree with both Sly and James that that's how you can implement smart contracts for something like the food delivery industry. You will make sure that the conditions that need to be met are all successfully done before the transaction is allowed to push through. So if let's say you stipulated there must be 5 conditions and only 2 get ticked off, then it doesn't happen. That means it's not a legitimate transaction to begin with. It could be one of these bogus transactions of somebody ordering to send it to somebody else. That's why only 2 boxes get ticked off, because the fact that, let's say in the example of Sly about the buyer, he needed to do something and that box doesn't get ticked off on the smart contract. So then it doesn't need to happen.
that's good. I think, gentlemen, you actually you propose 3 solutions to one problem, right? So, and it can be a combination of your 3, right? Okay, your 3 solutions. We're also being broadcasted to our BounceBack education community, and you are all educators. So again, if I'm going to develop blockchain, I have 2 options, right? Either I learn it myself as an entrepreneur and then do it myself, right? Or I, for example, hire someone like you guys to do it for me, right? Is there a third option other than that? So, I mean, entrepreneurs can learn, they can train with AltHash
Sorry, Sam,
University.
you came in choppy.
Yeah. I think it's sure, no, your connection to Fermin. So, yeah. Let me repeat that. So, two ways for entrepreneurs, for example, to implement blockchain in their companies, right? Fermin. Number one is they learn it themselves, right? So they learn about blockchain, they learn about the technology, then implement it themselves initially, and then or they hire someone like a third party, like you, like
James, you can
Sly
talk
J.
about yung courses
Yeah.
AltHash.
Oh yeah, no. So what are the options right now? Since I mentioned to you, we also have a big education community in BounceBack Network. So yeah, go ahead, guys. Talk about your courses, the ones that you're offering. Yeah.
Yeah, for one, we actually have courses representing AltHash University here. We have courses about the basic introduction to blockchain as a technology, more than just the financial aspect of it. Meaning to say, like what you wanted to learn about the data privacy, the security, and the basic blockchain tech encore. Meaning to say, when did it began? How did it get started? Premier gave a very wonderful insight about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. But there's more to discover and to dabble upon out there in terms of the technology itself. Sly keeps on mentioning the hybrid blockchain and other implementations available. Well, yes, it can be done. And as a matter of fact, well, I believe you are aware of this as well, Mr. Sam, no? That huge enterprises like AWS themselves do have this what you call experts dealing and studying and particular to the blockchain as a technology and its possible implementations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even Salesforce, they actually dabble with this in IBM and yeah, Linux. Actually, Linux, you guys are fan of Linux so in the no, the NADPOP. It actually the Linux OS as an open source actually gave birth to the idea of peer-to-peer, which is
Mm-hmm.
also the one of the lifeblood of blockchain as a technology. So yeah, so you can learn that from our university. So right now we have an open course. It's in the chat box, I believe, in our comment section. We just opened a course and it will be starting next week about cryptocurrency trading. No, not just trading, but about the market itself, cryptocurrency markets. Now,
Mm-hmm.
trading is just one part of cryptocurrency markets. You know why? Just before our broadcast, incidentally, we were chatting about this thing called well, just to for our viewers to appreciate. No? We're chatting a while ago about games. You remember? Now there's this one popular game called shameless plugging Axie Infinity, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually run over the blockchain. So it's a use case, Sam. Now, what's the beauty about this? The beauty about this is not trading like the way traders know, like you buy low, sell high thing. It's actually an implementation over the game. 'Di ba? So yun yung ano, yun yung those are one of the examples of what you can learn. It's called an NFT. So yeah, that's an example of what you can learn from the courses offered in AltHash University.
Mm-hmm.
So learn more about about that when you actually enroll to our courses. Yeah, thank
Actually,
you.
James, the courses are free, right? So,
Well,
but there's a
technically it's
there's a paid forward actually
yes,
model.
yeah.
Yeah,
The model is na a paid for. Well, if you don't pay it forward, then you pay.
yeah,
Like you pay cash. But
yeah.
if you wanted to get your certification right away, then you pay cash. But if you want yung sinabi mo kanina, you want it free, you have to pay it forward by actually sponsoring other scholars as well.
Correct. Next episode, let's do a deep dive on AltHash University so that our bunch of network members we really know how to enroll, di ba? So yeah, we
Sure.
posted the enrollment link in our comment section. Okay, so again, Fermin, by the way, your what about your academy, Museigen? So I really like the
Right.
name, the Limitless.
Well,
Yeah.
you can to see more about the cryptocurrency courses that we offer, please go to our Facebook page on museigen.io. And well, next week, I have an event together with ICORBP where we will be speaking specifically on decentralized finance. That's on June 29 at
Mhm.
9 p.m. next week.
I think we also
So, to
posted it
all
here.
those who
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
interested and would like to learn more about how the financial system is being changed by blockchain technology, tune in next week. It's an ICOR
Mhm.
BP event.
Mhm. Maybe we can co-stream it here. Just post the link. We can stream it also on BounceBack. Yeah. Okay. Jo- Joseph, do you have any no, any courses up, or that's the AltHash course, right? So.
Yeah, we have the AltHash courses up. Also, there is a huge talk right now, and I've been working on it for quite a while. Is that smart contracts? Smart contracts.
Yeah.
I'm designing a course for smart contracts.
Mhm.
Just to simplify it, not to give away too much. The idea is um, the smart contract course is going to be designed to just help people understand or get slowly introduced to the idea of smart contracts. Yes, you'll be programming. Yes, you might have to get, let's say, you have to program on Linux. You can do it on Windows or Mac, it doesn't matter. But the point is, it's the idea that, hey, look, in terms of blockchain and development, I mean, you got to start somewhere. You can't just, here's a good example. I started with the EOS blockchain in terms of smart contracts. Man, I didn't know what I was doing, honestly, but I had to study it. I got to figure it out, but I eventually did. But you know how long that took me? It took me 6 months. And here's a surprising factor. EOS smart contracts are written in C++. So I'm like, well, I know C++, but I don't understand the structure of what a smart contract was. It took me 6 months. Hey, guess what? I'll teach you smart contracts, but in the form of Solidity, since AltHash blockchain is it's Ethereum based, meaning it does Ethereum virtual machine or EVM calls basically.
Mhm.
And I'm going to show you a couple smart contracts. We're going to write a few. We're going to learn how to deploy it. Sorry, we're going to learn how to write it first, compile it, then deploy it onto the blockchain. And then we're going to understand a few more advanced techniques in terms of how smart contracts will work in terms of front-end application. So, that's what I'm designing. Hopefully
Coming
people
soon.
do.
Coming
Yeah,
soon.
coming
Yeah.
soon. Coming
Yeah.
soon.
I love it. I know C++ too. I grew up in C++, so that's why. Hopefully, I recall them. We have a comment here from Engineer Usman. So, good afternoon. Therefore, he just that's AltHash University. That's where you have to go, right, to learn more about. Engineer Usman is also part of AltHash, or is one of her students, or ICORBP.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's what.
Engineer Usman is actually one of our graduates from our AltHash University,
Hey,
and he's currently one of the accredited members of ICORBP, I believe.
congratulations, engineer. Okay. So soon, hopefully, our listeners, including myself, will be accredited members. Okay, gentlemen, 1 hour, 10 minutes. Again, welcome again to BounceBack Network. It's been a very productive 1 hour. Any last words, for our entrepreneurs? Let's begin with, of course, our speaker, because again, Fermin, thank you again for gracing us with your presence right now. Your talk a while ago really set the tone on what the hell is blockchain technology. So yeah, any last message for our final words for our BounceBack Network members? Yeah, hello, Fermin. Yeah, okay. Hi, Fermin, can you hear us? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Any
Yes.
final
So
words
as
before we close the show? Yeah.
sure, I was going to say that blockchain, you know, is still, for those of you who are thinking that it's too late to get onto blockchain, I assure you it's not too late. The fact that there are still many companies that are just beginning to study the use cases and how they can apply this in different aspects of operations is a sign that it's just you're just at the tip of the iceberg. It's never too late. The important thing
Mhm.
is study it and find some way to get started. I think, as Sly mentioned, you don't need to come inside and say, I want to change everything in the company from A to Z. Pick and choose. I like what you said earlier, Sam. Look for some quick wins. Look for certain areas where you can deploy it quickly, prove that it works, that it introduces certain efficiencies, and you can use that to justify trying to apply it in other areas as well. We're not here to change. I mean, the technology didn't happen overnight. We certainly cannot expect it to change the company overnight, but you have to start somewhere. If you never start, you're never going to embark on the project.
Yep,
And of
thanks,
course,
Fermin.
thank you. Thank you to all the viewers globally watching us. And we look forward to seeing you again at future episodes of
And we look
Bounce Back
forward to
Network.
having you back again, Fermin. So, I'm sure you have a lot of fun. You just saw not just a tip of the iceberg, you saw a snowflake in your presentation. So, yeah. Hey, Sly, go ahead, bro.
Okay, so my last words are this. Hey, you got to start somewhere. When I first started, I didn't know where to start. I just had to find a starting position. But once you find your starting position, trust me, you just keep at it. You're gonna fail. You're gonna have some really quick wins, but overall, just keep at it. Don't, just keep trying because blockchain is one of those technologies where it works here but it won't work here, so you got to find out where you belong into this whole blockchain thing, in terms of technology. So that's all.
Yeah, thanks, Sly. James, before you speak, let's again recognize Rain Genove at the back end. So again, Rain, thank you very much for joining us today. Rain's a social media coordinator and PR lead for ICORBP. Okay, next time we can show you. Okay, so James, your final word, bro.
Yeah. So our guest speaker and our co-host here already addressed our international audience about the blockchain as a technology. Now, I would like to address more the local entrepreneurs in the Philippines. So I'll say my last words in Filipino if you will allow me. So pardon me for our international audience, but just like what one of the famous Filipino writer mentioned in her book. I don't know if you're familiar with, if the children nowadays are still familiar. But back then we do a book review in the book called Dekada 70, by Luwalhati Bautista. And she made mention in that book in Tagalog na ang mapayapang pampang ay para lamang sa mga taong mangangahas, tawirin ng mababangis na alon. So with that being said, I am leaving that to our Filipino entrepreneurs, not just as a reminder but also as a challenge that this technology, yes, it is new, but it has a lot of potential. And if you want to go there, you better start rolling right now. So
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Actually, they should start rowing right now, di ba? Kasi nga
Rowing,
mabangis
yeah.
yung alon eh. Oo, tama.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, thank you again for joining us for the first test episode. Test episode pa lang to. Paano pa kaya pagka official episode na, what we're going to show with you. So join us again Tuesday next week, same time, 5 p.m. for Blockchain for Entrepreneurs. Again, salamat. Thank you very much, AltHash University, ICORBP, and Museigen. Okay, talagang, alam mo, we have samurais and we have ninjas in our midst, right? So again, don't forget, blockchain is here to stay. So get on now. It's still just starting. The future is up for you. Grasp it. Okay? Hold it. Okay, next week, we'll be talking about, maganda daw ang topic natin, di ba, James and Sly? Cryptocurrencies, no? So, masarap pag-usapan yan. So, be ready
Oh yeah.
for our next text broadcast, okay? Once again, this is Sam Jacoba. On behalf of my colleagues at BounceBack Network, Jason De La Rosa, our founder, maraming salamat for joining us tonight and see you again next week for Blockchain for Entrepreneurs. Bye!